Welcome to another interview with artists on the studio tour, the San Juan Island Studio Tour, June 1st and 2nd of this year. And with us today is Amanda Azous. Amanda, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And the name of your studio is Off Grid Studio.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, we live off grid, solar power primarily, and we do use propane and occasional use of a generator in the winter, but we get our water from rainwater catchment, so pretty much off grid.
Is this by choice, or are you just so remote that you have to do this?
Well, we live on Katy Mountain, which for many years did not have power to it, but we opted to keep the way we live when power came up, and when power goes out around the county, we're plenty happy.
Yeah, you don't even notice.
No.
Wow, that's awesome. All right, well, so we're going to be talking about your paintings. And before we get into your paintings, though, let's get into your previous life. When did you make it to San Juan County?
I moved here permanently in 1991. We'd purchased a place in 1987, but it took a while to make that change. So I lived on Orcas at the time for about 12 years, and then later moved here to San Juan when I met my husband.
So what was your career before you were a painter?
My original degree was in landscape architecture. However, I graduated at a time when business was pretty poor in the Seattle area where I grew up, and I wasn't able to find work at the time. I ended up working for the Boeing company, and then later got a degree in environmental science and engineering, then worked in those careers until I retired.
You must like school.
I like a future.
You like learning. You like
yeah,
learning,
I like
right?
learning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you developed a pretty good future with Boeing, right?
Yes, I had a very interesting job there. I had been working as a train attendant for Amtrak for a couple years after I graduated with my landscape architecture degree. And Boeing offered me a job in a department called Operations Analysis. And there we looked at future technologies the Boeing company should invest in. I worked for Boeing Military Airplane Company, so we looked at how to fight Third and Fourth World Wars 20 years in the future. So it was very unusual kind of work. Wasn't able to talk about it at the time with anyone, but I enjoyed it very much.
So you had a high security clearance, I assume?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
What was that like, playing out on table, I guess, not exercises, but designing things for future wars that we want to win, right?
Yes.
We need to win the war, but was it ever scary when you saw some of the stuff that was being contemplated?
Absolutely. And I had been I would say, a hippie child. So going into that environment was a culture shock in a way, mostly ex-military. But I found great respect for what people were trying to do, basically to protect our country,
Right.
and find ways to keep peace in the world. And so that culture took over for me.
Peace through strength.
Peace through strength, right?
Right. So do you have a scientific side then?
Well, after when I worked at Boeing, I couldn't talk about my work. I worked in a black box, and it was a bit frustrating, and I missed the outdoors and the background of having landscape architecture. So I went back to school and got an environmental engineering and science degree, and I ended up on a wetlands research program with the University of Washington. We studied I think it was about 24 wetlands in the Puget Sound region, and watched them over a 10-year period to see how they changed through urbanization. It's rare to be on a 10-year research program,
Right.
so I was
Yeah.
very lucky to have that opportunity.
Is this after Boeing?
Yes, after Boeing,
Okay.
I went back to school after Boeing and got the engineering and science degree. And
So
that's
you
how I ended up.
You can't tell me you don't like school. This is your third bite at that apple.
Yes.
By the way, have you ever done landscape architecture?
No,
Since?
other than for friends occasionally. It just never worked out. Yeah.
So, was that your last real job, big job? The third, the one we were just talking about?
Science and engineering.
Yeah, science and engineering.
Well, the wetlands research program was midway in my career. When that ended, I had already moved up to Orcas Island, and I started a consulting business called Azous Environmental Sciences. And at that time, there weren't many people here doing the gamut of environmental science work you needed. So I did everything: wetlands delineations, hazardous waste reviews, helped people get permitting for their projects. It was really fun because I got to visit all kinds of private and public spaces all around the San Juan Islands.
Wow.
So it really gave me a view into the landscape here.
When did you ever retire then?
About 4 or 5 years ago, I retired.
Cool. You don't look old enough to be retired, but
Well, thank you.
yeah, you did well.
You'd
You
be
did well.
surprised.
So, so you retire, and how did you get into painting?
I had a space in my life, and I decided I had a artsy craftsy background, and done things here and there, but nothing really that I felt could earn me an income. But after retiring, I didn't really need an income from art, and that was very freeing.
Right.
I didn't have to worry if someone liked my work or not. It was more how it made me feel. I want to give a shout out to Alchemy here because I took 2 classes with them, printmaking classes, and they really opened up a whole new world for me. And COVID hit about that time, and they gave me access to their studio through that winter of 2021, and I was pretty much alone there the times I went in, and
Nice.
had free access to their tools and
Yeah.
paints, and
Nice.
and I found this great joy and love and realized, okay. And my husband saw it, and he built me a studio. And that's when I really took off, where I always felt the desire to do big paintings. And so, I mean, I can only get so big in there, but still, it gave me a place to do that kind of work.
So, did you always, earlier in your life, did you think that you might paint? Was it like in the back of your mind, or is this largely a surprise?
It was a complete surprise.
Really?
Yes. A friend recently told me, you must have had this hidden artist in you all those years.
Mm-hmm.
His son had become a writer after a career in engineering. And the feeling that I got when I started painting was so pure, I would say, and just tuning into what my hands wanted to do on a canvas was so surprisingly satisfying that I just couldn't help but keep doing it.
Now, it seems like from your resume that you have a scientific mind, and a lot of the things that you did your whole career was science. Does science influence your art? Do you approach this is there any scientific part of you that comes out in your art?
I believe so, because I think art is very analytical because you want a good composition and you want the colors to work with each other. So it has its own analytical process, which is something that I definitely am attuned to. So I would say the scientific background is valuable in the work I do. Also, the science gives me subject matter because of my understanding of the earth and earth processes and what's happening to the earth now, and also understanding of human beings and their nature that is expressed in a lot of my works.
Fascinating. So you brought some samples of your work, some of your paintings. Why don't we take a look at that? It's really, really amazing.
Thank you. This is called Sunrise Over Waterfall. And this is one of my illuminated paintings.
What does that mean?
They have a set of lights behind it,
Like
LED
this.
lights,
Look at
yes.
that.
So now you see it illuminated, that's in a pattern that can be programmed. I use an app to specify the program that I want to use on each of these paintings.
Go back one, Jeremy, go backwards, please. So this, boy, there's so much going on there.
This is just paint on canvas.
And it looks like a process I've heard called scumbling. Are those individual brush strokes? That it's so precise.
They're brush strokes, they're pokey things, they're anything that I can find that makes a pattern. Kitchen implements. I use most everything that I can find that looks interesting.
Is it kind of a dry brush technique? It
No.
doesn't- No?
Not really, no. But I might use the end points of a brush or take a fan brush and
Okay.
press it down. I have some templates that can give different patterns that I'll use around. So I end up layering, which gives it that kind of depth you see.
Beautiful. I really, really like that. Okay.
Thank
Skip
you.
two, please. Also stunning.
This is called Journey, and it's about going to what the Huichol Indians call the Nerica, which is your heart. Like many philosophies of spirituality, following your heart is the most important thing. So this is the circular area is the opening or doorway to your heart.
There's a lot of motion there. That's really striking. Wow.
So this is the movie of Journey, the video, with its illuminated background. So these paintings, you can have the lights on or off. If they're on, you need a bit of a low light situation. But
It really works
yeah,
in this application. That this is light coming through the canvas.
yes, through the paint and the
indeed
canvas.
through the oils.
Through oil paints,
Okay.
yes.
Wow.
This one is called Sunrise Over the Lake, and it just depicts a moment I remember of beauty.
Now, those little red squares, are those painted on, or
Yes, they're painted on.
how long typically do your paintings take to complete?
It varies quite a bit. It can be, usually I'll do like a base painting and then let it go for a day or so and then come back to it, and then depending on the size can finish it sometimes just within a couple of hours. The earliest paintings I did would take me days, but now I can work much faster.
Do you have a plan before you start, or do you just let it come out of your hands?
I often have a plan, but it never turns out that way.
Abandon the plan
Yes.
soon after.
And there's always that time when I go, oh, I've messed it up. And my husband has told me I've messed it up a few times, but I feel good about the confidence I have to
You stay
come
with it.
back
You stay
and
with it.
fix it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they always seem to come out okay in the end.
I love the really fine work there. That's really neat. I like that a lot. Well, that's the same one
Yes.
with the backlight. Completely different. That's beautiful. Okay. And where can we see these?
I'm having an exhibit this month for the whole month of April at the San Juan Community Theatre.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We'll have these illuminated paintings and then also quite a few of my normal paintings, large ones and small ones.
Not normal. You don't have any normal paintings.
Yeah, as the abstract expressionist artists, they're not exactly normal.
Yeah. And so that is Friday,
Friday is the opening.
5 to 8 p.m.
Yeah, there'll be a reception and there'll be food and drink, and everyone is welcome.
Meet the artist.
Meet the artist.
And how many pieces do you have in this exhibition?
I think there are about 19.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, that's fun. Yeah, we haven't seen this yet.
This is me in my studio with one of my large paintings.
Do you use a knife for that? Most of that looks like.
Haven't used a knife before, but I'll use the edge of a brush, like to make sharp lines like you see.
That's cool. Nice.
That painting is called Tones, and it came from inspiration from a friend of mine who was a bit irritated with me at the time and said, "You have a tone."
Oh.
And I decided to paint that.
It's a painting of an attitude.
Yes.
Alleged attitude.
And really, we all have tones.
Yes.
And the tones make us a harmonious universe.
So I get the idea that you might be very in tune with the environment based on the way you've set up your home and some things you've said. Is that true?
I think so, yeah. I've tried to be.
Mm-hmm. And well, plus your career.
Yes,
Yeah.
my career, right.
So
that was my job.
Does that influence your painting in any way, do you think?
It does influence my painting. I feel that my science background and analytical background and understanding of the earth and human attitudes and relationships really influence my painting. When I'm painting, I'll call up feelings and express them through my painting tools.
Well, you're also very articulate. Is this off your website, the stuff that you brought?
I think most
Yeah.
of it is,
Yeah,
yes.
I highly recommend reading Amanda's website. It's extremely well written and very revealing about what's going on behind the
thank you.
painting. And you will be on the studio tour,
Yes.
right? Where will you be? Is it your studio?
Because I'm on Katy Mountain and it's a steep road, they won't let me
Oh, okay.
host.
Okay,
But I will be part of Kristen Rates Green's studio group.
great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sure people will want to visit you on the studio tour. Is this your first? Or
Yes, it'll
it
be the
is?
first.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you're going to love it because everybody seems to love the studio tour. So, Amanda, it's very nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you,
and
Jeff.
Really beautiful work. I'm sure you agree. So we'll be back soon with yet another artist interview.